Mate.
G'day, mate.
How are ya?
Good. How's things?
Good, mate. Really good. Yeah,
Eh,
busy. Well, The
Well,
the um the album's doing something because I'm bloody busy.
you are. You're a busy little man.
Yeah,
It's a
it's good to
fuck.
see you, mate.
I know it's been a hot minute, hasn't it?
It has absolutely. Um, it's funny. I was just thinking, like, the interviews that we've done together, have been at really like always real pivotal moments.
Yeah.
Um, like, yeah, we've definitely caught each other during definitely lots of different phases of my musical career, obviously my later career, so it's pretty cool.
It's a bitchin' album, dude. Congrats.
You like it? Thank you.
Yeah, I love the fact that it's you. So it's everything about you. There's not a lane it goes in.
That's really awesome to hear. That's been probably the most common feedback, which is exciting for me because I that was the mission. It was
Yeah.
to do something that was true, but I had to challenge all the voices in my head and the insecurities and what I like perceive expectations and all that type of stuff. So this is a good thing.
Could I actually say I think it's the first album where you may have shed the expectations before you got to the finished product because it's
Yeah,
your most honest record.
yeah. Well, it does feel like that. I mean, Demons was honest, but I was still working it out. It was sort of a time of rediscovery. I was still a bit tentative as to, when I having the confidence to be able to tour again after all the mental health challenges I had. And I hadn't really mastered that. I suppose my connection with intuition and, not that I have mastered it now, but I didn't really know much about it. And I felt like I was still kind of at times rattled too much with those inner voices of the past, or dealing with expectations, stuff like that. I never fully conquered it, or at least gotten on top of it like I have this album. I mean, when I personally listen to this album, I can hear particularly some songs, how much courage I had to just work up to just plow through whatever was in my way to get to those truths.
Yeah, I agree because for me, Demons was almost for me, I can hear you fighting certain emotions and certain demons.
Yeah.
Whereas with Miracles, I get that sense knowing you for as long as I have that it's more about, okay, I'm just going to embrace it. There's certain things I can't change. I'm just going to make the
Yeah.
best of what I've got.
Totally. Yeah. Well said. Yeah, because I mean, if like there's the sentiments of the songs vary, but the space in which they were created is the same. That's the thing that they have in common. Uh, if Demons was a time you could say maybe of rediscovery, learning, but Miracles is about, all right, learnt enough. Now it's about action. Now it's about applying, leaping, and trusting myself. And yeah, so I was with the mission of just staying true through every part of the process. I had to be so ruthless.
Yeah.
And actually streaming the whole experience on Twitch helped with that
I
for
was gonna
sure.
I was gonna ask about that. That's probably the one social media platform we have yet to delve into. We do a bit of TikTok, we do a bit of stuff like that.
Mm.
But how do you think Twitch helped or hindered the process?
It only hindered at the very start when I wasn't on top of my own thoughts and emotions, and I had to kind of let go of, say for example, I'm on camera, so therefore I've got to entertain people a certain way because that's what they expect, and I was wrong. They would be like, dude, fly on the wall, pretend we're not here,
Mm.
and just do your thing. And that excited me, right? So after I kind of got over that, uh, it was actually a source of inspiration. It kept me focused because I was like, oh, it's time to record. I've got to hit stream. Now I have to follow through with whatever it is I got to do that day. I can't be lost on my phone or, lose interest and go for a walk or whatever. It also, because I had been streaming for a couple of years beforehand, the community, we all sort of knew each other really well. They knew me. I'm very honest and straightforward. It's lots of hangs, lots of
Yeah.
chats and stuff like that. So I felt like on the outside, they they knew when I was being real or when I'd been swept up in my head and lost my way. They
Yep.
would call it and go, nah, you're trying to perfect it too much. Let it be. That's you. And I'd have to go, yep, you're right. There's one song on there called My Boys. And that was actually recorded in my garage and just with a microphone, I just sang it. I wrote it and I'm like, all right, I'm going to quickly lay this down. And I brought it to Twitch, not intending to release it. And they like, tell me that's on the album. I'm like, oh, I don't know. I just feel like it's a little too, well, it was my perfectionist just going, it needs to be better. And they're like, this is so moving. Like, you need to put it on there. I'm like, all right, I'll re-record it. They're like, no, put it on like that.
Yep.
And then I sent it to Andrew Sheps, who was overseeing my mixes. And, he's done everybody from Chili Peppers to Adele and Rival Sons, Kaleo, like lots of amazing acts. And I'm like, well, if anyone's going to call it, it'll be him. And I sent it to him and he's like, no, your community on Twitch, no, you've got to
Yep.
keep it as it is. Just make a few tiny little adjustments and we're done. So things like that,
Now you mentioned Andrew Sheps. He sort of acted a bit more like a coach for you, like he was
Yeah.
calling a few little plays when you're a bit uncertain. Because a lot of people don't realize that you are literally a one-man band in a lot of ways. So you're playing all the instruments, except you might get a few people in, but you handle the production. You're handling everything in house. I need to know how hard it was for you to be your biggest critic and your biggest fan all in one.
Yeah, great question. It's that, and that's why at the start of the process, I was like, I need a co-producer. And it's like and this is one lesson I learned, one of the many lessons I learned about just listening to the world as well. Like, just rather than going, all right, I've got an idea on how I think things should be. But if there are all these blocks and it feels like you're pushing, shit uphill and things are getting shut down and you're still trying to force it, sometimes you just got to stop and listen and go, what's the world trying to tell me right now? And things just kept falling through with producers that I wanted on board. The money didn't work or the time didn't work out or whatever. And people just kept telling me, even those producers, they're like, do it yourself. Do it yourself. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, I got to do this. And so I had a small group of ears that I trusted, that I could send my songs out to, that I get honest feedback, but they also knew what I was trying to do.
Yep.
And I made that mistake in the past of just going, oh, this person's successful, so I'm going to send it to them. Well, it's the wrong feedback, wrong person. They don't get where I'm trying to go. So I would use those ears as anchor, but I felt like I had enough emotional and psychological intelligence by this point to know what is my insecurity, when is my insecurity in the driver's seat, and when is it my truth. And there were times where it was tough. I'd have to go for a walk, I'd have to meditate, whatever. But we got there. But the one part of the process where I was really uncertain was the mix process.
Yep.
And because I have a lot of insecurities around my voice, so I intend to bury my voice or if perfectionist sort of takes over, then I just create a mix that's safe, like the IKEA mix.
Yeah.
And but IKEA is good, but this not for this album. And same thing. People just kept saying, you got to mix it yourself. You're great at it. Do it. And I'm like, no, I need a pair of ears. I need somebody overseeing this. And that's when I reached out to Andrew Sheps, and we'd met on a boat like 3 or 4 years beforehand, just randomly. And he was keen. And it was the greatest thing. There wasn't anything particular major in terms of surgical. There were lots of fine tuning, lots of little things. I learned so much. And even little things like I'd send it and he goes, I can tell you're hesitating here. Lean in, go there. I know where you're trying to go. Just go there. Be brutal. You can always pull it back. So, yeah, it's a great experience. It was a dream experience, to be honest.
It's funny that you talk about being insecure in your vocals. Like I think about how, as far back as Nat Cole and the Kings, you're a very stay in your lane kind of overdriven voice.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the songs would just stay in the lane, like straight up blues rock. You
Mm-hmm.
get to this album, I hear, and it's not the imperfection in your voice, it's the emotion in your voice I think you've been waiting to find for a long time, because a lot of the time there's these little left turns in the song and I'll go, where's he going to go? Where's he going to go? And it just goes with different direction. I hear the emotion change in your voice. I'm like, there he is. That's really cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I think with Nat Cole and the Kings, I never found home on stage as a vocalist in that band. It's and even with Demons, I struggled to find home on the mic. With that, I sort of started to get there towards the last few songs that I recorded, but Nat Cole and the Kings, I was just so focused on pitch, and I would, and maybe even just the lyric. It was a fun blues rock band, so there wasn't really anything deep that I was actually communicating through my
Yep.
voice enough to hook into. And a vocalist said to me, when you're singing a song, try not to think of it as singing. Try to think of it as you communicating a point, or you're and connect to the emotion of it. So I would, little tricks in the studio, like if I felt like I was getting up in my head, I would put up a picture, whether on my desktop wallpaper, of something that triggers the emotion that aligns with the song. And I would just stare at that picture until I felt it. And then I'd hold on to that feeling and get into my body and just sing. And each time I felt like I was getting up in my head again, I'd stop. There's nothing good can come from that. I'm being in that mode. And I'd ground myself again and get back in it.
I'm going to put you on the spot. You're only allowed to pick 3 emotions that sum up this album. What are they?
Oh, 3 emotions. Um, oh, I have no idea. I think, oh, man, I'm terrible at even like wording emotions. I can't say. I can't say. I'd say there's wonderment in there. Um, I can't say that this sums it up though. There's definitely fire. There's a lot of fire in there. And I'd say there's definitely some deep gloominess,
Yep.
euphoria, and with a little bit of like understated rage in certain
Yeah.
songs. And then there's skank. There's definitely
Skank.
some skank.
You
There's
can't take the
definitely,
boy
yeah.
out of Western Sydney, mate.
No way. Yeah, there's definitely like songs like Comfort Zones and Man on Fire. And it's funny, you definitely get people who are like, my favorite songs are Man on Fire and Comfort Zones and Miracles. And then there are the others that are just like their favorite songs are Go Quietly and Gone to God. And so yeah.
Was the sequencing ever much of a challenge for you to have it play a certain way?
Yep. Yep. I would say that was probably the hardest decision I had to make on the whole album, was deciding on the order, because I also had a deadline that I needed it done by. And I spent about 5 hours just moving songs around and just every time just falling short. And I used a very unorthodox, and I would say pretty woo-woo means of of deciding on the order of songs, which I was stoked. I was like, this is going to be crap. This is some woo-woo crap. And then I put together the order. I'm like, whoa, that's exactly what I'm going for. So whatever works.
Yeah, it's got a really good flow to it. Tell me how it felt when you actually had to let it go and hand it to the label.
Yeah, I loved it. I was so ready to let the album go. And Paul Kelly, I went to a panel that he was speaking on, and his advice helped me to kind of adjust my thought process around releasing music, and even reevaluate my state of mine and emotions around release time. And what he said is that, I'm paraphrasing, but basically, you do your best, you put in your heart into your creation, but then when you hand it over to the label, it's out of your hands. The songs will do what they do. You've got no control over it from that point. And what I realized is that every release beforehand was an emotional roller coaster, because I didn't know when was the time that you just go, all right, it's out of my hands, release out into the world. So I would just keep pedaling and just keep working as if I had control over how people are going to receive it, and you don't. And so I really set myself up for that moment where I handed it to the label, and there really was this release. Hey, it's and it was great. It was so good. And now I'm on this ride where I almost feel like I'm a passenger in my own, sort of creation, with my own creation, it's just taking me to places where I'm going, this is cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, I think the last time we spoke was probably when the Australian Story episode went to air. How do you feel about that now in hindsight? Now it's been out for a couple of years.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best things that I've done media wise for a long time. They did a really good job of compacting my life into 45 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever it is, and they kept it true. There's a lot of sort of big conversations, and there's way more to the story with what compared to what was showcased, but that's TV. And so I'm stoked. People keep referring to it. I think it was a great way to sort of reintroduce myself to people that may have connected to me back in the past, and also reconnect and connect with a new audience as well.
Yeah, because I was going to say, do you ever think you'll shake the tag of being the Hey Hey Kid?
Trying. But I think you got to embrace it. Like I tried to shake it for years until I realized it was something to be proud of. And if I can't, it's on me, really. It's like embrace it. If you can't shake it, then you haven't given people enough to rattle them to be connected to what you're doing now. And that's just on the song. That's on me, and that's on the song, and I'm okay with that. So I kind of use that as a barometer. And lately, people have been spending less time talking about that and a little bit more time talking about what I've been doing, presently. So, which is cool.
So you're going to hit the road. This is a pretty big tour. You're going to have the right hand man in Kenny along for the ride, I take it?
Unfortunately, not for this tour. Yeah, this is a big change. We've been playing together since Nat Cole and the Kings, 2009. Yeah, he's got some challenges that he's facing back at home, and being the family man he is, we both decided that it's best he stay at home for this tour. So yeah, it's sad and a little bit uncomfortable, because I didn't realize that he was a bit of a security blanket for me.
Yeah.
Security blankets for each other, really. And but yeah, so we've got a guy called James Van Cooper. And I think you know him. Yeah,
know him very well.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm realizing that a lot of people seem to know him, and so we've got rehearsals. One more set of rehearsals, and then we're ready to go. So it's going to be great. It's going to be a kick-ass show.
Yeah. I met JVC when he was, say 14 or 15. I did like his first ever promo shoots.
Yeah. Wow. Small world.
He's a closet Kiss tragic like me. You can't get rid of us.
Yes. Yeah. I did hear this as well. Yeah.
Yeah. No, James is a beast.
Yeah, he's a beast and a really good dude, and he's also very aware of the situation that he's walked into with Kenny not being able to do the tour, and he's putting all into it as well. Like, I'm really excited about what we're going to do together on the road.
So is he playing bass?
No, he's playing guitar.
Right.
So the setup on stage is obviously me, guitar, vocals, and then James, guitar as well, with a stomp. I've got like I run an SPD for like a simple sort of beat
Yeah.
thing for certain songs. And then I've got Tommy Gunn, who's another artist. He's kind of more on the indie alt rock side. And he's like my Swiss Army knife. So he plays a bit of trumpet, some guitar, some percussion. They both sing, and yeah, that's the setup. And even though there's no drums and bass, it's pretty mighty and very electric.
That's awesome, man. So I will see you in Brisbane. I know it's been
Yeah,
so long since we've seen each other in person, like
yeah.
probably 10 years.
Yeah, it has been a while. Yeah.
And I want everyone, if they haven't heard the album, they need to go listen to it. And I really encourage everyone to listen to it from front to back. Don't do a playlist
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's a journey album. It's not a playlist album. So you really got to get into it. Mate, I'm
Awesome.
going to let
Thank
you
you.
get back to being dad.
Yep. Thank you, mate. And
And
yeah, appreciate your time. It's
yeah,
always good to see you.
I will see you when you hit Brizzy. We'll catch up and
Yep. Absolutely.
get amongst it.
Yep. Super keen. Thanks heaps, mate.
See you, Nate.
Catch ya.
Bye,
Bye.
mate.